So today I'm delighted. So we're talking to Chiara Birch. She's seasoned in mining. She's all over culture. She's got capability down pat. She's been in business improvement in mining for longer than most people have been in mining. And her insights are particularly valuable today because we're navigating the topic of psychosocial safety. And a lot of people seem a little bit terrified by that term, but today we'll make it a little less terrifying. So welcome, really good to have your insights today. Do you want to maybe just, if we start with a moment, maybe you can just introduce yourself?
Yeah, fantastic, Justine. Thank you so much. So yeah, coming up to 20 years in mining now, really fortunate to have worked for some great companies and great leaders. My background, so I've done a little bit of the HR, I've done a lot of safety health management systems. Continuous improvement, business improvement is definitely something that motivates me and I'm passionate about. Having worked in that space, I've also been given the opportunity to work alongside some wonderful leaders and really have some great observations in what creating a psychologically safe workplace does look like.
So why then, now of all times, is it becoming so crucial in mining?
Oh, 100%, Justine. So I guess we've seen this we've seen a huge shift. We've seen a massive shift in what our workforce looks like today. We have a lot of people who are joining the industry. With that comes challenges as well. We've got new recruits. What we're also seeing is we've got some legislative changes as well. So, and we have a list of psychological hazards in the workplace. Companies are starting to realise and understand that their most valuable asset is their people, but connected to that is the well-being of their teams. We can't continue working in the environment that we did 10 and 15 years ago. We're starting to see a lot of mental health impacts, and that can be seen through reductions in productivity. We're seeing increased safety. There's also that reputational piece as well. And when you work in the industry, you do hear stories come out of particular workplaces. And really, it's coming down to the law.
Yeah.
We now have to make sure we are compliant.
Yeah, the legal part's huge, isn't it? And I think one of the things that has, we all know deep down that if everybody's happy at work, they actually, they interact more, they're more likely to speak up, they're more likely to be productive. So that logically all makes sense.
It does.
Particularly in the mining context, what does it actually mean to create a psychologically safe mine site or a psychosocially safe mine site?
Yeah, 100%. I guess, to put it really simply, Justine, if we have a psychologically safe mine site, we will have a happy workplace. To create that happy workplace, we need to have leaders who model that openness. They're not afraid to admit their mistakes, and they encourage feedback. Feedback is a gift when given the right way, and it's a two-way street. I also, in my time as well, I've found that workplaces, when the communication's been very clear, the culture's inclusive, we all respect each other, we understand that everyone comes from different walks of life, and we encourage difference. What we will find then is if we connect those people to a vision, we give them purpose, so that they can turn up for work every day their best self and know how they're contributing to the bigger picture. That's what we want as human beings. We want to know what our purpose is. Why am I here today? Doing all of those things, people will feel safer to speak up. The other thing that and you would be the same, I know, having seen lots of psychological hazard risk assessments, EAP is something that's mentioned many times. EAP is actually after the fact. We need to think smarter about this. We need to develop, some peer-on-peer support systems, awareness platforms. We have a workforce that are normally working away from home. They don't have the same routines when they're working. They're working night shifts. They're working big shifts. We need to develop platforms so that they can look after their own well-being as well outside of the workplace, create some routines when they are there.
And I like your point before, it's like sort of after the fact anyway. Like, you know, if somebody's
Yes.
reaching out, the damage has already been inflicted.
Correct.
So it's around more sort of how do we focus on the preventative as opposed to that, you know, that sort of band-aid at the end of it.
Yes, let's be proactive, not reactive with it, Justine. I think it's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I will say too is time. Our leaders, particularly our frontline leaders, they're time poor.
Yeah.
They need to have that time to genuinely connect with their teams. By connecting with their teams, that's where they can really work in that proactive space. Having those conversations, their employees feel safe to speak, coming to them with concerns to address it before it becomes a problem.
It's interesting, like we do bog our teams down with so much process because we rely on structure and process and forget that the fuel that actually operates fuels the machine. It's people. Like we are what drives the momentum. And actually, instead of just continually trying to put more and more layers of process on, how do we strip a little bit of that back and actually get people to be the motive force? And that's about trust and innovation and openness and people being able to speak up. I actually read a book over the weekend, and in that book it talked about an investment company called Bridgewater and Associates, massive, one of the richest companies in the world, super successful. Anyway, what struck me though is they have a big philosophy of, you know, their value set is around that open, candid conversation. And that they actually promote people based on that. They gave an example where I think it was the CEO or something, said something, and it was like one of the workers actually, you know, no fancy position, gave them feedback, sent them an email and said, this was actually appalling, you know, this is what I didn't like about you, you know, what you said, and you really need to work on this. And he like opened up and said, shared everybody, did you share that feedback? Like, this is the feedback I got, this is what I need to do. I mean, that's fantastic. But that's the sort of thing, right? Having that candid conversation as part of the way the organization works, so it's inherently and organically improving.
And it's natural, Justine, too. I think it's about that camaraderie, that connection to our team. And sometimes we do get bogged down in life. Life can be so overwhelming. We may have something happening in our family life, in our friend groups. If we are connected to the people we work with, those people will see that we're actually not okay. We might need a little bit of support and help.
Yeah.
Or we look like we're going to make a decision in the workplace and they feel comfortable enough that they can say, hey, stop, mate. Have you considered this?
Yeah.
That is just so powerful. And I think you would have had experience in this, Justine, if we could just touch on that. I do remember when you were maintenance manager at Blackwater, the culture you created there was a great culture. And there was one point, were you doing like posters or some sort of awareness to really encourage people to speak up, to look out for their mates? Because we did see prior to coming into that role, I think there was a lot of hand injuries and things like that. And just going to the team saying, you know, how can we get on top of this? What can we do? There's so much power in that. Everyone then owns that.
It is. We always think as leaders that we have to have the answers, that we're supposed to have the answers.
Yeah.
But we don't. We are the last person that has the answers. There's only one person to see a million things. Like maintenance at Blackwood has 600 people in it, as if I could see what 600 people could see.
Yes.
No way. And so, and you know, that probably pulls out a really good point. Like mining in particular. So we take that sort of example of, you know, that investment company that embraced it so that you have the conversation. But mining has so many specific hazards that are at, we've got isolation, we've got long hours, we've got FIFO, high job demands,
That's right.
24/7 environment, organizational fluctuations constantly.
Yeah, huge, Justine.
Lots of job insecurity, particularly with the mining price ebbs and flows. So that environment has so much specific risk. I mean, you talk about the hand injuries that we had, and again, it's a physical safety issue, but you actually solve it and you get that engagement based on the way that people actually feel. Do they feel safe to speak up? Can they challenge something? Can they come up with an idea? So in this mining environment, what are the key obstacles to dealing with the psychosocial hazards? Like, what are why is it not working?
Yeah, so Justine, it's not working at the moment. I still feel and I've observed that there's this lack of awareness piece.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to what you were talking about before, all of the things we expect our leaders and teams to do in a day. The list just goes on and on and on. Also, we're a very reactive industry. There's changes to production plans, there's changes to maintenance. As much as we, like to plan the work and work the plan, unfortunately, it's not a perfect world that we're working in. So with that, we also have the ebbs and flows that come with the product we're selling. There's always price fluctuations. Businesses are very cost restricted when it comes to making investments. I think and I feel that people actually want to really see that return on investment piece. Why would I do this? What's going to be the outcome? They need that information.
So, and I agree, it's so hard to quantify. It's this crazy ambiguous, and it's got a name like psychosocial safety. Like people straight away.
It sounds daunting, doesn't it, Justine? Like I think, oh my gosh, what else? What next?
So on the stakes then, how beyond unhappy workers, because we all intuitively know if people are happy, they work better. But beyond that, what is the consequence for an organisation that neglects psychosocial safety?
The consequences are huge. And I think, and again, having seen it, working in mine sites where we've had large organisational change, some of the things that really flagged that we had a problem was decreased productivity.
Yeah.
Workers, when they're stressed, like there's a big change coming in particular, they're less focused. I'll give you a scary stat today, Justine. So the Gallup survey estimates that something like low engagement, so I'm not talking about even addressing any of the psychosocial hazards, I'm talking about low engagement with your teams, costs the global economy, are you sitting down? $8.9 trillion a year.
So we're basically talking more than most organisations make.
In their entire duration.
I don't even know how much. What are the biggest companies in the world make a year? Like,
BHP. I think we made $1 billion 1 year.
Okay, well there you go.
And that's global company.
Trillion. So we're not talking billion. We're not talking $1 trillion. Okay, and that is literally just low engagement.
That's low engagement. That's having a conversation with someone when they walk in the door, knowing their name. It's those simple things, Justine. It's mind-blowing.
And you think about the low engagement, we actually often start workers off badly. So in mining, I don't think there is a single mine that does this well. But in mining, most people turn up, they don't have a person who knows their name. Nobody turns up for them at the gate. They've got no log-ons. They have no idea what their job description is. They don't know what's required of them. They don't know what good looks like.
They don't. And there are stats around that too, Justine. So a person who has a really positive onboarding experience will be with that company 18 months and beyond. So they will stay based off that experience. It's definitely something that we should focus in. It's that initial connection piece. It's connecting people to people that they're going to work alongside, connecting them to purpose, coming to work and knowing, well, this is my job. This is what I have to do every day. This is the person that I can reach out to if I've got concerns or I need guidance, little things like that can make a huge difference. And it also helps us understand and identify if that person is going to sit in any of those risk categories, if they are going to be more prone to the psychosocial hazards.
Yeah.
We, again, have environments. It's a workplace where people are away from their families and their normal routines, as I touched on before. We have people who are new to the mining industry as well. So
And they
things
don't know
around,
what to expect. Like, you come in
they
thinking it's one
don't.
thing and you turn up and you're like, this is
They
not what
don't.
I thought.
And let's think about all the acronyms that a lot of companies that we work for use.
It's like every second sentence has got two in it.
I know, and I'm not. And having worked in those environments for long periods of time, I still find myself Googling the acronym, thinking, what's this new one? So that can make people feel very, very uncomfortable, unsettled, and
isolated, right? Like, it's like somebody's talking a different language. It's no different to that.
Yes,
So
it is. Yeah.
Definitely get that. The onboarding piece is I think one of the most obvious places that we can start, because that's your first experience. And there's another book I read ages ago, but it spoke about an organization did a trial, and they literally did, when people were onboarded, an exercise where in that onboarding experience they had, I think it was like something like 90 minutes, but they had a program where they actually sought to understand the person. So they just sought to understand that person. What are you passionate about? What do you want to get out of the job? Anyway, there was something like a 400 times or 400% increase, a fourfold increase in the commitment and passion that person had for the company.
Beautiful.
6 to 12 months afterwards than somebody who didn't have that. I mean, that's these are small things that we can do.
Yeah, and I think, Justine, if we get that right, when the person does come to work on their first day and they are supported from day one, we'll actually see less absenteeism.
Yeah.
Again, another fun fact, we are spending $2.3 million per 1,000 workers annually. That is on absenteeism.
Literally just not being
so
at site.
Again, put that into perspective. Some of the mine sites we've worked at have got double that amount of employees. Think of how many people were in your team, Justine, when you're in your VP role. How many people?
Oh, well, I mean, in the entire team, we are more there. So there's 1,000 just in the Australia team. You put the whole lot together, and you're talking thousands. And I'm just baffled by that number. Like, in terms of 2.3 million per 1,000 annually, just cost in terms of literally not being present. That's money for jam, right? And so it is money for jam. We haven't even spoken about the legal and financial impact in terms of the work cover claims.
Again, and I think that's up around, I think it's tipping nearly 40 billion a year.
In Australia. Yeah, see, that's huge. 40. And that's going to increase with the legislative changes, right? So I'm seeing that trending up. And we haven't talked about safety impacts and reputation and turnover. Now, if you talk about absenteeism, turnover is another huge thing. You think about how much it costs when we can't attract, retain talent, and we have that churn of workforce, and we have to upskill new people.
And that's the other part too, Justine. I'm yet to see any statistics where it gives a dollar value, but what I have looked at in the work that I've been doing, to replace one person, you're looking at 18 months before that person can effectively and successfully work in that position at a full capacity.
Yeah, so basically 18 months.
18 months.
To basically fully onboard somebody in a capacity.
That's right, 100%. Yeah. It's and I think too, like, again, we were really lucky. We worked at a fantastic mine site together. And what I will say is I have seen workplaces that have done this well. They've been workplaces who've been really connected to their teams. They've been at the pre-starts. They're talking to their teams. They know them by name. It's a fabulous environment. They actually became a team that had 5 of the largest and best performing pieces of equipment globally, so in the dragline space, they had low absenteeism. Their turnover was non-existent in my time there. Safety incidents, same, non-existent. If there were any, the percentage was so low, and we didn't see any like lost time injuries. Reputationally, people actually then wanted to work for that team. They wanted to work on that site. So how cool is that?
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. And it doesn't create, it's not hard, right? Like, it's not like this is some sort of rocket science. It's actually, you know, it sounds like rocket science when you hear psychosocial safety, but it's not, right? We're actually not doing something. It's, you know, just people really
caring for our people, communicating with our people, taking our people on the journey. It's not difficult. What is difficult though is that time piece and the pressures that come from achieving productivity targets, trying to do things in a cost-effective way. I think sometimes we actually miss
the important thing, because my learning, all my years in leadership, my learning is we can get busier and busier and busier and busier chasing productivity and efficiency gains and all of that perfection that comes with trying to perform. Whereas you actually unlock the highest benefit, the best outcomes, if you actually slow down a little bit and just listen to your people and work with your people, because they figure things out. If you actually you're actually clearing the path for them to perform if you're there for them. And so I think sometimes it's a vicious cycle. It's a catch-22 in terms of that sort of whole time piece.
It certainly is, Justine.
The other thing, just before I move on, you touched very briefly as well, and we sort of spoke about it for a millisecond, but safety incidents. So one of the other really severe impacts in mining is safety, and I know that there's a lot of research around the impaired judgment that comes from stress and that. But one thing that I, in all of the major investigations, whether they were near miss or fatality or investigations, is that whole contributing factor piece around poor communication. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't speak up. There was something that I didn't speak up. I understand, and so I think sometimes, you would know from your experience, these safety incidents generally actually have a very strong link to psychological safety.
Justine, they do. They absolutely do. I've been a part of many investigations as well and supported some of those more complex ones that you've been a part of, as far as, collecting data. And data is one part of it, but it's the human factor. It's that human factor. Yeah. And the not safe to speak up thing is something that I would love to change. Many years ago, I lost a really, really dear friend, and there were 7 things on the day that failed him and led to his death. All of those other things, there was, he didn't have, it was a new vehicle, for example, Justine, there was no UHF radio. He was going to a work area where there was no mobile phone service. He was by himself. So there was 6 other things that he didn't feel comfortable with. The 7th thing that failed him was he didn't feel safe to call it out.
Yeah.
Because he worked in an environment that was very much, you got to get the job done. Come on, hurry up.
Do it. Yep, show up. Move
That's
on.
right.
Don't complain. Just go.
Yep. And people people who didn't really have any of that, that emotional intelligence either. Mm-hmm. So the result was, unfortunately, he passed away and left behind 2 small children. So in my life and my career, I've really wanted to create those workplaces where people are safe to speak.
Because you never ever get that back. There's
no coming back from it. Coming back from it.
All of that experience and all of this time, what are the best in class doing?
So the best in class, they are connecting with their people. It's as simple as that. They
probably like that dragline team you were talking about. Like that is what good looks like.
They're an exceptional example, and they're definitely an example that I think once you've got a standard, I know when I do work with other teams and I look at other teams, I always look at what Andrew and Day did for their team,
Yeah.
and they were very invested in their people. The best in class right now, their focus would be their people. So they would be doing things, they'd be understanding the day in the life of their teams.
Yeah.
They would be making changes.
Walking the walk with their teams.
They
so
would.
connect
Yes.
with people, do the day in the life of, understand what they're actually feeling, doing, seeing, touching, walk that with them. And then I guess then the next piece is, I guess, understanding, like we were talking about, that cost factor, understanding the return on investment so they can get the business support to actually do something about it.
That's right. And if anything, we work in an industry that has so much data, Justine. We have so much data.
Yeah.
It actually wouldn't be a difficult process to look at data, 2 years worth of data from a business, and actually then look at what's happened in that business over 2 years. And I'm really, really confident in saying you could actually pinpoint when there's been changes in leadership and organisational structure, anything like that.
So it's making it enduring now, right? So we have these pockets of brilliance. The key is tell the story so that you can actually make an enduring change rather than a change depending on a person. So
and that is absolutely essential. What we have done is we have the change sits with the person. It doesn't sit and remain in the organisation as people come in and out of the organisation.
Yeah.
It's really, really not difficult. But I think what businesses need is they need to find people who can help them on this journey. Yeah. Because it's not going to be something that they'll be able to problem solve overnight. Again, we talk about time poor. They have so many other conflicting priorities in their day. They need to connect with good people like yourself, Justine, who want to be a part of supporting these businesses to make the changes. And if I could say anything to leaders out there, get on board now, invest your time and resources now. It will pay you dividends. What you can do in the meantime, connect with your people, be visible, attend their pre-starts, share the company's vision, connect people and give them purpose. An example, a dragline operator comes in. What are their targets for the day? What does that mean as far as how many times they've got to swing that bucket? Let's simplify it. Let's really break it down, and let's also celebrate success. So when teams do a good job, and when I say good job, it doesn't necessarily mean they achieve that target. They may have had a really, really tough day that day. They may have been battling things, for example, in the open cut space. They might have had wet weather. Their recovery time was really good. Again, they didn't achieve the volume.
Target, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And they did it safely. They did it safely.
Right. So creating that teammate, sort of vibe, so that it's not just about, did I do enough buckets? Did I set you up for success, or did I actually not? So yeah, you're right. You're so spot on.
I have had I've had some conversations with a great manager quite a few years ago, and she actually went out to her team and said, what do you want to hear? What do you want from me? And one of her employees stood up and said, you know what? We always get thanked when we achieve volume for the day.
Yeah.
We never get thanked when we've had a really, really tough day and we've done it and no one's been hurt.
Had a really tough day. We still managed to get through. Nobody got hurt. And we survived through it. We got, that. Yeah, I agree. And we didn't give up just because it was tough.
That's it. I think there's a lot of power in that. And again, it's that connecting to people and asking people what they want. What do you need from me? Yeah. What can I do to help you? And it just comes down to time.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Look, it has been such a good conversation, and we could go on forever. I think
we could, Justine.
I think there's a lot of common belief here, but very really valuable conversation, and I just want to say a huge thank you.
Thank you, Justine. Hopefully we talk again soon.
Definitely. All right. Talk soon.
Bye.